Welcome to Legal AF. I'm Dave Aronberg, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman. That is Melba Pearson, a.k.a. the Resident Legal Diva. And let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein because it's interesting, Melba. You know that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, who both were known to, dally with conspiracy theories, right? Now they are trying to act like the adults in the room when it comes to the conspiracy theories over Jeffrey Epstein. They both say that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. By the way, I agree with that. As a former prosecutor, I deal with facts and evidence, not conspiracy theories. But I realize how others may have a different opinion. But the thing is that you have two individuals who are running the FBI who were very quick to invoke conspiracy theories before they got this job. But now, once they're in power, they realize you've got a job. And what you say on your podcast isn't quite as important as what you say in a courtroom, because that's where you can get sanctioned if you spread lies. Or when you say as the head of FBI and people are depending upon your policies and your words because you have thousands of employees and it affects our whole criminal justice system. Well, all of a sudden, there's a level of accountability you have now that you didn't have before. And so lo and behold, the conspiracy theories are gone. They're the ones telling their radical MAGA supporters that, hey, hold off. There's not going to be the black book that exposes all of the individuals, the Johns who are part of this. Yes, there was a black book, but it wasn't tied to Johns necessarily. And Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. So I was a little surprised by that, but probably I shouldn't have been for the reasons I just said. What do you think, Melba?
I mean, I am a little surprised by all of it, just from the standpoint of, number one, too many people stood to gain by the demise of Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, let's call it what it was. He was throwing these parties. He was linked to Prince Andrew. I mean, there were real heavy hitters who probably didn't want their names being, linked to such, horrible deeds. So there was that. So I understand how, the conspiracy theory could emerge. And also it was very bizarre that he was on suicide watch and then you took him off. And then the next thing you know, he commits suicide.
Well, he tried. Remember, he tried before, but his roommate, the alleged quadruple murderer, saved him. And then, so he did try. We know that shortly before. So is it that hard to believe that he would do it again when he actually tried to commit suicide? And is it hard to believe that the guards would be asleep when they're overworked, underpaid? Or is it that hard to believe that cameras in an underfunded government facility would not be working? If you believe that cameras are always working at these facilities, you haven't worked in government. Because it's
but that's not what I was getting at. I was getting at the fact that why was he taken off suicide watch? Because he already tried to kill himself once.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like, okay, I tried to kill myself yesterday, but I'm fine today. You can take me off suicide watch. I mean, did he go through therapy? Like, what prompted the decision to take him?
If you're thinking that he or his lawyer tried to, lawyer wouldn't have done it. It would have been he, with all the money, perhaps persuaded the guards to look away while he offed himself. I could see that. That's as far as I'll go with a conspiracy theory. But the story here, Melba, and I realize that, look, there's things that smell bad, and I get it. But the news here is that you now have the deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, who is now promising the release of a new video from the cell bay that housed Jeffrey Epstein around the time of the suicide to prove that no one was there but him. A new video? So a camera was working? This is interesting.
Right.
And you can imagine how the MAGA folks who are determined to prove that it was Bill Clinton who was a resident of Epstein Island, and now Hillary was the one who snuck in on a cat wire and murdered Jeffrey Epstein, that's really what's going on. But here you have Bongino, who has been a nemesis of Clinton and all Democrats for a while, saying, chill out here. It didn't happen. And wow. And the MAGA folks are up in arms against their own. So this is what happens. The piranha is always hungry. You can feed them what you want. You can say, yeah, we're gonna give you these binders that are gonna prove all this stuff. And then they open it and like, what does it prove? You snowed us. We're waiting for the conspiracy stuff to be proven. And that day will likely never come. And then those folks are gonna turn on the MAGA leaders who overpromised and underdelivered.
Well, I mean, listen, like we know in our business, the last thing you want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. You might as well keep your mouth shut and fly under the radar and then come with a bam, okay, I've given you more than you even could have imagined and asked for. So I think they're going to end up eating their own at some point, and I'm going to be here with my popcorn for all of it. But, I am curious to see this video. I don't know if it's going to completely quash all of the conspiracy theories, but I will say this, and we were talking about this before, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was, Jeffrey Epstein's partner, she was part of this whole thing. She knew all the people involved, and yet she's still alive. So I would think if the goal is to silence all, possible ways of there being a leak of information, she would be gone as well. But
See,
putting it
Melba,
out.
that's why I love doing shows with you, because even though you have an opinion, you're willing to give up an adverse fact to you. Like, hey, if this was all a conspiracy, what about Ghislaine Maxwell? Why wasn't she killed? And where is the list? Where is all this evidence of all these other people? If Ghislaine Maxwell could have used that to protect herself. Well, she didn't bring it up at her trial, and she's going to be in prison for decades. So, yeah, that's why I see you were a great prosecutor, because prosecutors always have to give up facts that are adverse to themselves. It's a unique responsibility of the job, whereas defense lawyers don't.
Right. I mean, I still have questions. Let's put it that. I still have questions. I want to see this video. But I don't know. There were just so many things that fell into place for this to happen, and I'm not a big fan of coincidences. So, but again, I will go with the evidence. And if the video says it was him and only him, and that was the end of it, then it is what it is. But regardless, it's kind of mean, but good riddance, regardless which way it happened, because again, you were victimizing children. I have no patience for anyone who victimizes people generally, but even more so children. So, you're going to have your day of reckoning, and I'm thinking you're going south, not north. But, if you believe this,
Well, Bongino was on Fox and Friends. I'm sure you missed it. I don't think you watched Fox and Friends, Melba, but this is what he said. This is according to Mediaite. He said, quote, "I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I want to be crystal clear on this. I'm not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what is there and what isn't. There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case, and there will be a disclosure on this coming shortly. There's a video that is something the public," and then co-host Lawrence Jones said, "Video of him killing himself." And Bongino replied, "Not the actual act, but the entire MCC bay. There was only one camera. There is video. And when you look at the video, and we will release it, we're working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we will give the original so you don't think there are any shenanigans. You'll see no one in there but him. There's just nobody there." And so he's asking for tips from the community, because he knows that the crowd that he's been egging on for years is about to turn on him, and he doesn't want to be eaten by that piranha. So that's the responsibility of leadership. Once you get into government, you got to actually start leveling with people. And if you don't, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, because then they're going to say, hey, if you're the one spreading the conspiracy theory, you have the power now to disclose everything, to declassify everything, and you haven't. So you're in cahoots with Jeffrey Epstein. You must be on Epstein Island. You must be
on the grave. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's the big difference between, even though they weren't necessarily on the campaign trail per se, but that's the difference between campaigning and governing, right? As you well know, David. Exactly. You can say a lot of things and fire a lot of shots, proverbially, while you're on the campaign trail. The truth, especially if you're on the MAGA train, the truth is a thing that to be manipulated. But once you actually have to govern, once you actually have to be held accountable, well, your tune's going to have to change, because now you're on the inside. You are part of the system. You are now the man.
You know what? You are so smart. That is exactly right. Once you're part of the system, yeah, it's either eat or be eaten. And you better start eating, because those guys, those piranhas are coming for you. And so he's trying to dissemble. He's trying to skid out here's what it is. Here's the video. Here's the proof. But these folks out there are immune to facts. They believe in alternate facts. They have been raised on conspiracy theories. And so, yeah, this is a Shakespearean lesson called being hoisted by your own petard. It's from Hamlet.
Not the Hamlet day.
We went from piranhas to Hamlet.
We give you the full spectrum of things here at Legal AF. Just so you know. That's why you should subscribe.
That's why you should subscribe. Yeah, so I missed the subscription reference at the beginning, but thank you, Melba, because let's end this with a plea for our viewers to get us on over the next level. Like we're around 700,000 now. Subscribers are doing great. Let's keep it going. Hit that subscribe button, which I believe is right here. Hit that subscribe button, or is it over there, Melba?
We'll get it right at some point, but
underneath
our lovely pictures, there is a subscribe button. Please hit it.
Hit it. Thank you for your support. Please leave a comment below. Share with a friend. Hit the like button. I'm Dave Aronberg, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman. That is Melba Pearson, a.k.a. the Resident Legal Diva. And we'll see you next time.
See you soon.
I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touches Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.